Speaking in tongues, are they still for today or have they ceased since the apostolic period? Coming up on this 5-minute defense lesson. Welcome to your 5-minute defense lesson. Speaking in tongues, have they ceased or do they still continue? There are two views. Cessationism, which I subscribe to, tongues have ceased since the apostolic age, and the continuism view. The gifts have continued since the apostolic age and continue throughout today. I believe that tongues have ceased. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us when they would cease. They don't give a specific date, the scriptures don't, but we have evidence that it ceased, that tongues ceased at some point. What is that evidence? Well, first we got to look at 1 Corinthians 13:8, which plainly says that tongues would cease. There's no denying that. Love never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away. If there are tongues, they will cease. It plainly says that. If there is knowledge, it will be done away. And it's interesting to note here grammatically that the Greek verb for cease is pio. It means to cease permanently. It implies that when tongues ceased, they would never start up again. The word also means to stop and come to an end. So what is the evidence that tongues have ceased? Tongues were a sign gift by the apostles used to authenticate the miracles and teachings and doctrine of Jesus Christ along with the apostles. When the New Testament was completed, there were no more need for tongues and miracles of that type. The Bible mentions only 3 times, 3 periods in history in which human beings were given the gift of performing miracles. The first period was during the ministries of Moses and Joshua, the second, Elijah and Elisha, and finally the third, Jesus and the apostles, because that was used to authenticate the gospel message and the teaching of Jesus Christ. The purpose of tongues as a confirming sign of apostolic authority and doctrine ended when the New Testament was completed. Genuine tongue speaking involved direct revelation from God to the speaker, though it was veiled revelation that always needed translation or interpretation, often to the speaker himself. 1 Corinthians 12:14-27 and 28. Tongues are only mentioned in the earliest New Testament books. Most of the books like Acts, 1 Corinthians, and Mark are the only 3 New Testament books to mention tongues. They were early writings. Later writings like James, Peter, John, and Jude make no mention of tongues. Why? Because by that time, at some point, they'd already ceased. Tongues are not mentioned or alluded to or found in any writing of the early church fathers. For example, people like Clement of Rome, Justin Martyr, Origen, Chrysostom, and Augustine never mentioned tongues being around even in their early periods in church history. Tongues are not a prominent subject in the New Testament. When Jesus prayed, he didn't pray in some special prayer language or anything like that. He prayed in his normal earthly language to the Father. And when he made promises about the coming Holy Spirit, he never said anything about tongues or anything of that nature. To emphasize tongues is to emphasize something that Jesus did not emphasize. The clear priority of the Christian life is evangelism. It permeates the message of the New Testament. It permeated the life of Jesus, and it should be the same for Christians today. So now, someone watching this video is probably fuming, a charismatic or a Pentecostal. I can just see it now. The troll blood is starting to rise. Well, let me tell you, I believe God could do tongues if he chose to do it. He simply doesn't because it was a part of something called progressive revelation. Just like we no longer sacrificed animals in a Jewish temple to cover sins, that was how God revealed himself in forgiveness in the Old Testament, progressed, and God spoke to people at different levels and different times in different ways. So before there was a Bible, tongues, miracles were used as a sign. A sign points to something. A sign points to Jesus Christ and the truth of his teachings and what the apostles did. So now, does that mean that God doesn't heal today or can't heal today? Certainly God can heal and he still does. But no man like Benny Hinn or Kenneth Copeland or some of these other frauds can lay hands on somebody and heal them. Only God can do that. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he doesn't. We don't always understand that. My time is up. I hope this has been some help to you. It's given you some good knowledge and challenged you as well if you've been studying this topic very long. Subscribe, like, share, make a donation if you can, and click the notification bell. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you for your support. Always stay ready to defend the truth. Consider making a donation today.